When we're working in an agile way, we're looking to reduce complexity and we're looking to get to the outcome as fast as we can. One way of doing that is to work in short periods of time and then iterate that on a regular basis. We do that so that we can get fast feedback, and we do that so that we can make sure that we're on track and that we're going to hit the goal that we have set, achieve the outcome that we're looking to achieve, deliver the value and the quality that we want to deliver. So in the world of Agile, different frameworks will refer to this period of time by different names. Some call it a sprint, sometimes an iteration, some a learning cycle, and there may be many other ways of referring to this. It doesn't matter what we call it. What matters is that we understand that it's a period of time which has a beginning and end during which the work is being done, and at the end of that time, we then will review what we've done, we'll inspect, we'll adapt, and then we may have another period of time during which we continue to work depending on what we've achieved in the first sprint. In Scrum, then, we refer to this as a sprint, and the sprint event normally is around 2 weeks long, depending on how we're working. The Scrum Guide refers to it as something which should be no longer than a month. It could be as short as a week, but as I'm going to show you, it's about a mindset that we want to have. So let's canter through what we mean by a sprint, or why we use sprints, I should say. Again, we're focusing on getting feedback. And the way we do that is by knowing what our deadline is, by knowing when the end of the sprint is, we then work out what we can deliver in the time available. And all the time we are staying absolutely focused on the outcome. So sprints are the heartbeat of Scrum. This is where we use this time to turn our ideas into value. And we know that the sprint itself in Scrum contains all the other events. So it contains the sprint planning event, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. All of that happens within that 2-week period. The reason we use time boxing, and a time box means that we basically have a beginning and an end. It all happens within that time frame. And we stick to our time boxes because if we didn't do that, we would not be able to improve. If we, say, allow the time frame to slip a little bit in order to just finish something off, in order to just polish something, make it perfect, what will then happen is that we won't actually learn how long things are actually taking us, and we then won't be able to realistically and accurately predict what we're doing and when we're going to get to the end of whatever it is that we're building. Remember, the purpose is to get feedback. The purpose is not to complete something necessarily. Yes, we're always looking to complete. We try and take in to a sprint only those things that we believe we can deliver. But what we are doing is that if we don't deliver it, then we use that as an opportunity for feedback, and then we've got another sprint coming up so we can go again and make sure that we make the adjustments. And then finally, by working in this way, we create massive amounts of predictability because we're continually inspecting and adapting our progress towards our goal, towards the outcome. We're able to continually adjust to make sure that we know what we're doing and we get to where we want to get to. With your permission, I'm just going to give you a quick example of how I used sprinting to achieve one of my bucket list goals, which was to play in a band. My brother invited me to play with him in a gig with his band at Johnny and the Jive Tones, and I'm only just been really learning how to play the saxophone. And he asked me to come along and play. So nothing ventured, nothing gained. With a bit of trepidation, I said yes. This was the list of songs that we were going to play. And I had about 2 weeks to get ready for this gig. Obviously, I was not going to be able to meet up with him in that time because they weren't getting together to do any rehearsing. They already know exactly what they're doing. So I had to figure this out myself. I got hold of Spotify, got hold of the songs, and decided to start learning. What I did was I knew that I had a certain amount of time available in the day, each day, that I was going to be able to practice. So I referred to each of those as a sprint. It was about an hour at a time, and I probably had about 6 of these hours that I was going to be able to dedicate. So I started the first hour, and I started trying to learn these songs. It didn't go very well. It really didn't. I was listening to the song on Spotify. I was trying to play along. I was trying to learn the song, and trying to learn the songs. I got to the end of that first hour, and I barely managed to work out how to play the first song. But I stopped. I knew that shouldn't then expand my time. I knew I only had 5 more hours to practice. Based on my experience to date, I was not going to get very far with this. Maybe I would have one song done properly by the end of the time, in time for the gig. So I used the retrospective to think about how I could achieve the goal. I knew that what I'd just done wasn't going to work. What I did get was a lot of feedback, an experience, an understanding of what I could do. By listening to the songs that we were going to play, and by knowing a little bit about how we can prepare for music, for playing an instrument, I remembered that if we can find the key notes that need to be played in that song, and if we just jam with those 3 notes, we can actually achieve the objective, achieve the outcome, which is to play in the band and contribute to the overall sound that is being created. So at the beginning of my second sprint, my second period of time, I went through and found all the notes that I needed for each of the songs, 3 notes per song, roughly. And I got back into practicing. This time it was far more successful. And so what I did for the next 4.5 hours or so of practicing was I went through the songs, listening to them on Spotify and jamming along. Really, I needed to make sure that my saxophone stayed in tune. And as long as I achieved that, I could play along, just following these notes and playing in time with the music. And that worked. I got to the end of the time, and 2 weeks later, from when we started, that's me there with the arrow, playing in this gig, having an absolute blast, achieving a lifetime goal. I do hope they invite me back to do it again sometime, because of course next time I will be able to use the time to get better to get those songs better, to refine them, and to make things work better. But anyway, just a way of thinking about how we approach things to achieve our goals in an agile way. So what do we remember? What do we know about this then? Just to summarize, make sure the events are time boxed. Make sure that you have a beginning and an end, and that when you get to the end, you stop and you reflect and you think about what it is that's going to happen. Don't just keep going, relentlessly trying to deliver something. You need to actually stop and think, wait, I need to make some adjustments. Focus on the learning, and this was really, really important. I learned that I was not going to achieve my goals by just going through and learning and practicing. I was not going to make that in time, because I knew that I had only a certain amount of time to deliver the outcome. One thing that is important is to work on one thing at a time. Quite often we try and multitask in a way, in hoping that we're going to actually achieve more. As you will see in one of the other videos where we talk about multitasking, that doesn't really work. We need to stay focused. And talking of focus, we need to stay focused on the outcome. Because that way we know we can work towards that. So going back to my example, learning the songs as they should be played was not going to achieve the outcome. Maybe in the future, I will be able to get to that if I continue to practice, continue to work. But the goal was to get on that stage and be able to play. And that's what we did. Another thing that is really, really important when we're working in Agile is it needs to be fun. If it's not fun, we're probably not doing it right. I just want to leave you with that thought. If it's not fun, we're probably not doing it right. And if it's not fun, get hold of your coach, get hold of your mentor, get hold of your team. Use the retrospectives to work out what it is that is not making this a fun experience.